Okay, so we are in chapter 6, it's Dhyana Yoga. So this will be something interesting for you all. It is all on the yoga system, which all of you all have been listening to it. I mean, there are a lot of yoga day, yoga classes going around that. So we will see what is Krishna is going to talk about Dhyana Yoga. Okay, so we will pray, give obeisances to Krishna, Radha Krishna, Govinda. Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnanakashalakaya Chakshurmitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Namo Manobishtam Stapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Navitam Shah Hey Krishna Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Namos Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatru Abhyascha Kripa Sindhu Abheyevacha Patitam Nam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Tarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. So what was we did recap, just a short recap. It was chapter 5, summary. We'll just see. Arjuna was asking whether sannyasa is better or karma yoga, because he's telling him no to do the work in devotion, or you can renunciation. So this is what Arjuna was asking, which is better, et shriya. So Krishna says both are actually both have the goal is to reach the Lord, but karma yoga is easier than sannyasa, because that that is better, visheshya. And then he gives the roadmap how to do the nishkama karma yoga, how we have to be like the lotus leaf, no, to be in this world, but do the work with giving up the results to the Lord. And that's how we can be free from the bondage. And then also he talks about focusing on the, once you are in the material world, I'm sure we will be distracted. So he says to focus on the Supreme Lord. And then he goes on to say about the Bhaktaram, no, he is the well-wisher, he is the enjoyer and things. So now what is the question here? Then he continues. There in the last chapter, he just gives us small hint on Ashtanga Yoga. He doesn't explain, because now he wants to explain, continues the same explanation. He continues in this chapter to give a detailed explanation on Ashtanga Yoga. So how to advance in Ashtanga and what are the different, very much in detail, what are the stages in the Ashtanga Yoga practice. And in all that, underlining in this is we have to control our mind. So then Arjuna is asking, it's very difficult, because it's not that easy to control the mind. And the way you have talked about the Ashtanga Yoga, I think is quite going to be, the practice is very difficult. And then Krishna says it's abhyasana. Abhyasa is what is required, and vairagya. Then what happens if you are unsuccessful in this practice? And then finally, Krishna concludes that Bhakti Yoga is the topmost yoga. Okay, this is what is the overview. So in this, what we get is understanding the nature of our mind and what is the eightfold process of yoga and what happens if you do not attain complete perfection. This is the yoga ladder he talks about. So this is like on a path of self-realization, right? So the first question is, what is yoga? Is this the way? I mean, we have seen, no, when Kumbh Mela, a lot of yogis come and they do all these things. And is this real yoga? That is what the question is. Or even in the West or in other places, they are made with like a mundane exercise. You see, there's a beer yoga, and these people are doing yoga in the office, and this is with having a goat, and they have come up with so many things, and it has become a dollar business, and a lot of propaganda is there. And for what? They say you do yoga for your health. So it is good for your physical and your mental health. But this was what was done in the bygone days, where the Hiranyakashipu and all that, they did yoga, meditation, and there was a lot of ants as built their hill there, but still, yes, that is severe. But today, we see so many different kinds, like, pregnancy and yoga for pregnant people, yoga, chair yoga. Then they have written a lot of books on this. Lot of books, and it sells. And for their back pain and desktop yoga, for the business success and for the weight loss, so many things. It's all for the dollar business. Okay, it's only for the thing. And in the name of yoga, everybody is getting attracted to it. But what is real yoga? Who is a true yogi is what Krishna is telling in this Bhagavad Gita. Okay, let us see what is. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Anashritaha Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karotiya Sa Sannyasi Cha Yogi Cha Na Niragnir Na Chakriha. Anashritaha. Anashritaha means without shelter. That is, without taking any shelter. What happens when we do some work? What do we do? Whenever we do anyone who works, he will expect some result. That is natural, phalam. They will expect some phalam. That is without it. But Krishna says here to do it without. That is personality of Godhead said, one who is attached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated in the renounced order of life, then he is the true mystic. He is the one who lights no fire and performs no duty. That is, anyone who works without any shelter of the results. That is, he has given away as not attaching himself to the fruits of his work. And he only works, that's saying karyam. Karyam is, it is my duty to serve the Lord. In such a way, if somebody works, then he's actually in the renounced order. That actually he is the true yogi. That means we must be in perfect knowledge that he is in servant of the Lord. Then only he can take up sannyas. It is my duty to become Krishna conscious, to serve Krishna. That is my duty. And he's not forced. He's doing it voluntarily, out of love. Actually, why it is the process, the yogic process, yoga process is actually meant to purify our senses, not for the health and thing, but that is all byproducts. You get as a byproduct. But it's actually to purify our work and to control our senses. That is what this yoga is actually for. And in our case, we have a lot of imperfections. Our senses are not perfect. In fact, we cheat. We cheat means we speak something, but in the heart we have something else. We don't speak truthfully, and we make mistakes also occurs, and we are illusioned. So these are their flaws in every one of us. Okay, so this yoga practice, which has been thing, it is actually meant for purifying the process of our work and to control our senses, and not for those whatever we get. The benefits are the byproducts, but the main thing is it is to the one who is not attached to the fruits of work, and he only does this work as karyam karma karotiya. That is, he does it as a duty to the servant. So that is the true yogi. Okay. Then who can become a yogi? So he says, Yam sanyasam iti prahur yogam tam vitti pandava nahi asanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kanchana. What is called renunciation, you should know to be same as yoga, or linking oneself with the Supreme. That is, he meditates on the Supreme Lord. He focuses his mind and senses everything on the Supreme Lord. Okay. And he can never become unless, and how he can only become a yogi if he has renounced the desire for sense gratification. That means he should not have any desire for sense gratification, and he should not be attached to the fruits of his work, and he should link himself with the Supreme. Then only he can become a yogi. And when is he elevated? A person is said to be elevated in yoga when, having renounced all material desires, he neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activities. That is, he is all the time thinking of the Lord and does everything for the Lord. But on all underlining thing here is the mind control is mandatory. Otherwise, you cannot cannot perform Ashtanga Yoga. So, how can you control the mind? That is the basic requirement in this. You should be you should have no desire for sense gratification, and you should mind control is required, and you should focus on the link. Your aim is to link yourself with the Supreme, and you have to renounce all the material desires. So what then here he explains, Krishna, about the nature of the mind. So your mind can become your enemy or a friend. Okay. Bandhur atmanastasya yenatmaivatma na chitaha anatmanastu satruvitve vattetmaiva satruvat. That is, for him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. See what happens if you cannot control the mind, it will keep pulling you into this direction, that direction, and things. No, you actually cannot. You'll be so confused that you cannot decide in which will be the right way to do and how to think, because you are going as per the mind. The mind will say you do this, and you just do it without thinking, and you can just follow your mind, and finally it will lead you astray. So, in fact, what he was talking till now was about the karma yoga. No? You do work in devotion. But if you don't do that, then at least you should do Ashtanga Yoga. That is what the alternate to karma yoga is, Ashtanga Yoga. And for that, you have to so the nature of the mind is like this. If you have controlled your mind, then it is your friend. If you don't, then it becomes your enemy, because it will lead to all sense gratification, and you'll have desires, more and more material desires for the material world, and you will be caught in the cycle of birth and death. Okay. So how do you do? And what are this Ashtanga Yoga? Ashtanga means what? Ashtanga means it's an 8 limb. There are 8 limbs in this process. Ashtanga Yoga process, there are 8 limbs. Okay. It starts with Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. Okay. Yama means you should have some, then there are a lot of disciplines in this. It's not that you do it for 2 days and then you think that is the best and all. It is not like there is some disciplines, external disciplines and internal. Also, there are certain disciplines, yamas and niyamas. And also your posture, how you sit, how and where you sit, and all that. That is also there. And pranayama is your breath control. How you incoming and outgoing breath, how do you control that in all this thing? And then pratyahara, withdrawal of senses. So in this, that means the prerequisite is you should be purification done by Nishkama Karma Yoga, and you should be completely detached from the sense enjoyment. That's how then withdrawal of senses. Dharana is you concentrate on the Supreme Lord and you meditate. Dhyana, you'll be so absorbed in the obsession, then finally you'll be integrated with union with the Samadhi. That is the state you reach, the highest perfection. Okay. So let us see what these different processes are. So Yama. So what does Yama mean? He should live alone on a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. That means he should live alone and in a secluded place, and he should always carefully control his mind. So that is the first thing. That is yama. And it is given in the verses 6 and 10. So these things, no, you can, when you see the PDF, you can see the reference from which reference verse we have taken this point. Okay. And then comes the niyama. Niyama says you should be temperate in his habits of eating, sleeping, working, and recreation. That is, you should not eat more, nor should you eat less, nor you should sleep more, nor should we sleep less. And also working, you should not work like 24 hours. You don't need to. You have to be temperate in your working hours and in recreation. So all your habits should be temperate. It should not be in excess. You should have a discipline on yourself. And also that you should be if you want to practice this yoga, you should live alone and be in a secluded place and should always control your mind. And then asana, how do you sit? You should lay kushagrass on the ground and then cover it with the deer skin, because deer skin will ward off the insects and all that. And the seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. One should hold one's body, neck and head erect in a straight line and stay steadily at the tip of the nose. And thus with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, and one should meditate upon me. This is how you should do. That's the thing. So many rules he has given, right? And then this is how they used to practice in those days. In the bygone ages, this is how they used to do it. Okay, it's not that it was not done, but there were people were doing like this. And pranayama, they practice stopping the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming breath into the outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance. So this is actually this pranayama thing he has explained in the chapter 5 itself. So pratihara, cessation of material existence. By being so absorbed in this, you have a cessation thing. Dharana, then he disciplines his mental activities and he will be situated in trance. That is, he is devoid of all desires. That's the stage he reaches. Only then we can say he has attained yoga, because that's when you have linked with the Lord. Dhyana. As a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendental. So dhyana is the final stage. I mean, almost reaching the final stage. Only then he has disciplined his mental activities and he is devoid of material desires. And then how is the pakka? I mean, his mind doesn't waver like the lamp. No, it is steady. It's not wavering. And is always steady in his meditation. And then one is never shaken even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This is indeed the actual freedom from all miseries arising from the material contact. That is when you reach the perfection, samadhi. So he is explaining this in detail to Arjuna. He's saying this is how you have to practice your yoga. So now comes the Arjuna's question. Is it possible to do this in Kali Yuga? That's another question. I mean, I'm thinking you can put your answers in the chat for me. Is it possible to do these practice detailed ones in the Kali Yuga? So what is the query by Arjuna? He says, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna, pramati balavad dridham, tasyaham nigrahaham mane, vayuriva sudushkaram. That is, mind is restless, chanchala, okay, and it is very unsteady, astira. It's very unsteady and flickering, and mind is always agitated and turbulent. It can be obstinate or it can be stubborn, and it is more difficult than controlling the wind, vayu. Actually, he is a very brilliant acha. No, he could aim his arrow at the fish which is revolving right above his head by just seeing its image in the mirror. We have seen in Mahabharata, okay, during the Draupadi's this thing, what is that? When the bride,
Swayamvara.
Swayamvara. Okay, thank you, Tilakraj. So in the Swayamvara, But he himself says all this process is very difficult for me. Mind is so stubborn, it can't control it. So what does Krishna say? The blessed Lord says, "O mighty son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult." See, here Krishna doesn't oppose him, He agrees. He knows it is difficult. Even when Arjuna asked him, about the questions, about his arguments when he said, "I can't fight." That was we saw in chapter 2. There also Krishna was not saying, "What, Krishna, you're coming and telling me now in this battlefield, you're showing your weakness." He doesn't chastise him there. He understands. He understands how people can get confused, how the people can think. So when he asks the questions, he is very calmly explaining. Here also he says he agrees with him. I know it's difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by constant practice, abhyasa. Only by constant practice and by detachment, that means vairagya. Only by that, unless you practice and you be austere, only then you can control your mind. It is possible, but you have to do it, should have a practice. And he says, if you don't control your mind, for one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is a difficult work. That is, we are on the path, on the spiritual path. We want for self-realization. We want to get free from this material world. That is our aim. We want to go back to the Lord. Our aim is that goal of life is to go back. So in the path of self-realization, if you can't control the mind, then it is difficult. But whose mind is controlled and who strives by right means is assured of success. Why he says right means, he said, our goal is to go back and not to get some siddhi or mystic powers and something. That should not be the goal. That is not the right means. So we have to go back for the right cause and you have to control the mind. So that is my opinion. See how he says. Krishna, he says, that is my opinion. You have to understand only the way he is telling Arjuna. Okay. So now another question comes to Arjuna. See, it was such a yogic practice, was so difficult, isn't it? And if somebody has taken up that practice and halfway he is not able to finish it, he might have some problem, something must have come or something is not completed gone to the reach of the samadhi, the stage. Then what happens to the transcendental? So what happens to the person who has been in this practice but he could not do it? So Krishna says, if after many, many years of it, that means because of his advancement in the spiritual path, he will have certain punya. So he will enjoy, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is on the planets, higher planets, the pious living entity will be born into a family of righteous people or into a family of aristocracy. That means he will enjoy in the higher planets, in Svargaloka or the other lokas. After that, he will come back and be born in a righteous family or a rich aristocracy. Okay, even if he has done only advanced only a little bit. But if he has advanced very much, highly advanced, then he will take his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are truly great in wisdom. And verily such a birth is rare in this world. Okay. So that's what Krishna says. That is, you will be born in a family of righteous people. That means it's not waste. Because in the material world, whatever we achieve, we have it, you can't carry it to the next birth. Okay. Whereas whatever you do in the spiritual path is never a waste. It's never a waste. Krishna will always acknowledge it and you will get its benefit and you will start from that level in your next birth. So that is, then it is, so being in Krishna conscious is always advantageous. It's not a waste. Okay. So whereas if you entering engineering college and if you drop off after that, will you call, we can't call him as an engineer, isn't it? Because he has not completed his engineering course. But here it doesn't matter if he doesn't reaches the samadhi, even if he has done a little bit, was he in Krishna consciousness, but some reason he has fallen off. But actually, he will acknowledge it. Krishna will preserve it. He will acknowledge it and he will give its benefit in his next birth. Okay. So now we saw the definition of the Ashtanga Yoga. And also we saw if no success is there also, you can, if there's no success also, no problem, because you will get the benefit, which will get added. And all the process now is always towards the bhakti. It's nothing else. So now he's telling what is, now we'll see what is going. And of all the yogis, you always finally concludes saying that who abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. Finally, he concludes, says, if don't do the Ashtanga Yoga, but still Bhakti Yoga, that is people who are worshipping him and is the great faith. The Bhakti Yoga is the most highest of all, and they will, the one who will be united with me in yoga. So he says, concludes with that. So now that means he talks about you can be in the Karma Yoga. We started. Dhyana Yoga means you get some transcendental knowledge. Only then you can understand why we are doing work in devotion. And then we rise to the Ashtanga Yoga. But if you go straight away, you be in the Krishna consciousness, then you are straight away on the path of the Bhakti Yoga. You don't have to go these ladders. So Krishna consciousness situates on the platform of meditation in the beginning itself. You don't have to go through this, but you're already in the meditative thing because you're meditating on the Supreme Lord. That's what was the requirement in the Ashtanga Yoga. So when you are in Krishna consciousness, you are situated right on the platform of meditation. So all other yogas are the progression towards the destination of Bhakti Yoga. You are going step by step. Or if you are in the Krishna consciousness, you're straight away, you are in the platform of Bhakti Yoga. Okay. So now we are going to see what is the yoga for Kali Yuga. We have talked now the spiritual practice because you talked so much on the thing. Let us see what is the different practices for different yugas in the scriptures. So Srimad Bhagavatam says at the 12th canto, 3rd chapter and 52 verse, Khate yadyato vinaye tretayat yajato makhau dvapare paricharya kalau tat dhari kirtanat. So if Sanskrit is too much, we can see the English translation. So as per that Srimad Bhagavatam, 12th canto, it says the Satya Yoga, meditation on Lord Vishnu is the prescribed. They were practicing that. They were doing for thousands, hundreds of years and thousands of years. They used to do the meditation like this Ashtanga Yoga. Okay, that was what was in the Satya Yoga. Whereas in Treta Yoga, they were performing expensive sacrifices. They used a lot of they had mantras, they had the thing, and they were doing that for self-realization. And Dwapara Yoga, they were doing elaborate temple worship. Okay, that is what says in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And what is for the Kali Yuga? Kali Yuga was chanting the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. So it is easy to, you can go step by step, the Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, and then go to the Bhakti Yoga. Or you can take the lift, thing and straight away go to the Bhakti Yoga by Krishna consciousness. That is by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. You can gradually go up by the lift rather than going by the staircase. That is the difference. So what is this mantra we are talking about? So man plus tra. Man means your mind and tra is the delivers. It mantra will deliver you from the, purifies your heart of all the misgivings. As I said, the misgivings which we have in our heart are the lust, ego, greed, anger, envy, illusion, all that. Slowly it gets reduced, and that so it will be. And if you do it as a meditation, it is known as the Chakra Meditation. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay. And in the Sankirtana is when you go with the devotees and you do it in the street and everything, with kartal and thing, that is known as Sankirtana. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. So these were how the followers with of Prabhupada were doing it on the streets also. And there are a lot of references. I mean, I said, no, I will give you the scriptures references from where it is given, the chanting of holy names of the Lord. Okay, we'll go through some of those references. One is from Narayana Samhita. It says, Dvaparya Janair Vishnu, Pancharattaistu Kevalai, Kalautu Nama Trena, Pujyata Bhagavan Hari. In the age of Kali, people should simply chant the holy names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because they don't have, it's not easy. There'll be so many distractions. And the thing, even to go to a secluded place and do this type of Ashtanga Yoga is going to be a problem. And also you cannot do the temple worship, no? I mean, elaborate sacrifices, no? That is also not is a problem. So this is the easiest one. And anyone can do this, take up this chanting of Hare Nama, okay? And is given in Narayana Samhita that in the age of Kali, people should simply chant the holy names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, as I said, here it says, my dear king, although Kali Yuga is full of faults, as I said, no, Kali Yuga means it's where people will be a short life, they're lazy, misguided, misfortune, and they're always disturbed. But with all that, Sukha Goswami says, the Shuka Goswami to the king Parikshit Maharaj, he says, my dear king, although Kali Yuga is full of faults, there is still one good quality about this age. It is that simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one can become free from the material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. So they say it with confidence. They're giving us that this is a good thing. So we see so many falls and where it is very difficult to do this Ashtanga Yoga and all that. But still, one good quality in this age is chanting Maha Mantra will free from material bondage because it will purify our senses. By slowly purification, we will get detached from the material desires. So this is another Upanishad, Kali Santre Upanishad, where it says, I think I'll go straight away to the translation. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti Shodashkam, that is the 16 Namanam Kali Kalmasha Nashanam, Nataha Parattaropaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishya. After searching through all the Vedic literature, one cannot find a method of religion more sublime for this sage than the chanting of Hare Krishna. This is from the Kali Upanishad. Then from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, 17th chapter, 21 verse, it says, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalau Nasti Eva Nasti, Eva Gati Ranyata. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. There is no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way. So this is what is there from the scriptures. So in all the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Upanishad, Srimad Bhagavatam, and things. And also in Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, we'll see where Krishna says, Yajnana Japa Yajnasmi. I am the Japa Yajnasmi. Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names, Japa. So we have these references, and how we to do this chanting, we tell you the do's and don'ts. So chant the Pancha Tattva mantra before the starting to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. We have to chant this 108 times. Before we do that, we give the Pancha Tattva mantra. That is Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Shivasa Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. This is Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And the one in blue is the Prabhu Nityananda. And here we have Sri Advaita, and we have the Gadadhara and Srivasa Adi, and all other Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So we take the first, we invoke, ask for the blessings of these devotees before we start the chanting the holy name. Okay, the mantra. Okay, so we do that first, Pancha Tattva mantra. And the chant, we should Chant audibly means just enough, loud enough to hear the mantra. You should hear it. See, we have to chant and you have to hear that. So pronounce each name because that is the process. The more you hear about it, it's slowly that vibration, no, it will work on you. Okay. And you have to chant with respect because we are taking the name of the Lord. So you have to chant with respect, devotion, and concentration. Okay. Then it works. And it did work, Otherwise, how did these people become the followers of Prabhupada? And they became and they left all their bad habits and everything and they chant because it was only by chanting this Maha Mantra. This is what it helped them to purify their senses and to control their mind. Okay. And you can chant it in any place, sitting or walking, facing any direction. And you can chant at any time. And we like it if you do it in the Brahma Muhurta, that's before the sunrise. And you can chant either before or after taking bath. It is recommended to chant by keeping count because just the feeling of the beats, it puts your mind will keep going here and there. You cannot stop it because that is its nature. But the more you keep touching the beach, your mind will start coming back to the chanting process. Okay, so that helps you. And always it's nice to keep a count, that we have done one round. One round is 105 times. And Prabhupada says to do it 16 rounds. Okay, at least minimum 16. Then don'ts of chanting. What are the things we should not? One should not chant only a portion of the Maha Mantra. That means the complete thing. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama. You should not do it halfway and all that. And one should not chant on this beat. That is known as a Krishna beat. Okay, of the Japamala. Then one should not chant while reading the book or a newspaper or watching TV and thinking that you're doing the rounds. That's not the right way. Okay. It doesn't give you any benefit. And benefits. What are the benefits of chanting? So let us look. It gives you relief from unwanted drives and habits. In your present condition, we are slaves to many whimsical thoughts and desires, which will give us a relief. I mean, it gives the relief from because we said, no, in Kali Yuga, we are always disturbed. And that will help us to be peaceful. And freedom from the reactions of sin. Freedom from anxiety, stress, you get a peace of mind, real happiness and enlightenment. This is the way it goes. Once you get purified, slowly you will be more peaceful and you'll be real happy and get the thing. So this is, and it has been proven, and we see a lot of people who have taken up, and it's not very far. It just happened in the last 50 years. It's not that it has done 5,000 years ago. No, we see the proof here now itself. So these are the freedom from anxiety and stress. And what people say about chanting Hare Krishna, I think you can see few verdicts. It's really of having realization. What is? It's really a process of having realization of God. This is by George Harrison. In those days, he was the Beatles group, and he was a great devotee of Prabhupada, and he took to this. And actually, in all his songs, he has put this Hare Krishna mantra, and he was a great follower. And he says it's really a process of realization of God. And then these are the various people who have give their testimony. And this person, he says, everything started happening for me when I began chanting Hare Krishna. Who is he? He is the youngest director of 3M in France, 29 years old. Okay. And this is Alfred Ford. He's from the Ford company, Albert Bushford, owner of the Ford Motors. He says chanting Hare Krishna has made a tremendous impact in my life. So when he first met Prabhupada, he was he was around 20 or something, and that teenage age. And he had all that, he was from a very rich family, isn't it? The Ford company means it's a very rich family. He comes and he had all the cars and all sorts of going around. Finally, when he met Prabhupada, and he slowly changed his life and it made an impact on him. And he didn't become a sannyasi, but he was in the family, but still he was following the Krishna consciousness path, and it made a change in his life. I've been chanting Hare Krishna mantra for many years, and I've never found anything more pleasurable. This is our leading industrialist from Apar Lighting. Okay. And this is from Mafatla, Rishikesh Mafatla Prabhuji. He talks there. Hare Krishna has helped me face all the ups and downs in my life with a great confidence and peace of mind. Okay. And we have here from one of the models. What do they say? They are the famous model in the Vogue. Chanting helped me give up the bad habits, changed my vision of things. She's a Dutch model, she was in the Vogue and all that. She felt she did made a change in her life. She could give up the bad habits and all that. And then by starting to chant Hare Krishna, I feel tremendous happiness. She is also a leading European model. Okay, Vicky Overton, how they made the tremendous change in their life. And this is a nice, interesting one by the British Army officer. He says, my outlook towards life is a lot more brighter after starting to associate with Hare Krishna devotees and chanting the Mahamantra. He's still in the army, but still he had taken up this chanting of this and being associating with the devotees. And this is a furniture designer from Italy. Chanting makes me feel close to God. Okay. And he had made a lot of designs, he has changed, and his business was more successful and peaceful. But this person is I forgot to say. Mahamantra significantly reduces stress, depression, mode of ignorance, and considerably increases mode of goodness. Actually, he's a scientist and he has done a lot of experiments, detailed study about how it affects the Mahamantra people, how it stress and all that. And it was his PhD master's program at Florida State University, David Wolf. He was studying the effects of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And he has got a beautiful, his thesis is quite good. It's all focused on this. Okay. So when I'm stressed out, I chant. It's one thing which charges my batteries. It clears my mind and brings me back in focus. So printing executive, you know how stressed they are. When I'm nervous, I find chanting very calming. I don't get shaken up at little things. So this is what happens when it's not that they don't get ups and downs in their life. They do have, they will feel happy or sad and all that, but they don't get very much anxious or get too much disturbed. He says it gives a calming effect on them. So this is chanting Hare Krishna and reading authorized books on Krishna consciousness has brought me great peace. And this is Ramesh Lal, he is in Toronto, Health Spa proprietor. So you also can chant Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I think. And so with that, and I will just summarize the first 6 chapters, which we talked about Karma Yoga. So we had, I said, we have talked about 5 topics. Ishvara, Jiva, Karma, Prakriti, Kala. So Ishvara is the controller, is the supreme personality of Godhead. So we saw the 3 stages of realization: Brahman realization, Paramatma realization, and the Bhagavan. Paramatma is the super soul in all the living entities, is in us, within us. And Bhagavan is the ultimate. Like, we talked about the sunshine and the sun disk and the sun glow, planet itself. And then in chapter 5, we saw, he is the proprietor, he is the enjoyer of all the sacrifices, and is the Maheshwara, he is the controller of all of the demigods and the living entities and the whole cosmic manifestation. But he is a well-wisher. He is a well-wisher and he wants us all to go back. Actually, he has created this world for us to enjoy because we wanted to enjoy. He says you enjoy and you come back, but you have to come back. So that is the well-wisher. And transcendental knowledge, he said, once who knows why he comes to the world and how his pastimes and things, if we know this transcendental knowledge, it gives an assurance that we can go back to his abode. And there are many people, many Mahajanas have done it. So it's not a problem. So this is what we saw in chapter 4. This was in chapter 5 and chapter 2. Then he said, Krishna says, we are the soul and not the body, about the living entity. And we are part and parcel of Super Soul, and we have to engage in devotional service. That only will help us to come out of this material bondage and be relieved by the cycle of birth and death. And then he talked about what our duties are, prescribed duties, how we do in doing our duties in the world. You do the work in devotional service. That's what he says. He doesn't say you give up your thing, everything, and become a sannyas. No. And also he described what the three types of karmas: vikarma, karma, and akarma. Right? Then he talked about how the roadmap he gave, no, for nishkama karma yoga. From karma yoga, do the karma active work for giving up the fruits of activity results to the Lord. Then also this chapter we talked about Ashtanga Yoga, and then he says Bhakti Yoga is the best. Okay, and we are going to go. He's going to explain more on Bhakti Yoga in the next 6 chapters, and also Prakriti and Kala we are going to deal in much more detail in the coming 12 chapters. Okay, so this is like a nutshell. I just summarized the 6 chapters for you. Fine. So I'll just end my thing. Ancha kalpatru abhyascha kripa sindhu abhya evacha pratitam nam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna. Chant. And